Israel strikes Hamas military posts as tensions escalate on the Gaza border. We're going to get into what on earth has been happening on the Gaza border, along with a really cool story that you don't want to miss. I'm Justin, and this is the Israel Guys.
رد عمرك شربت كمية جرافوت جوهم واحد.
Looks like someone brought the wrong flag to the party. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Welcome back to the show, guys. It's great to be back with you today. First off, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our content that we're putting out every single week, except last week we only put out one show because we were busy filming all week. Also, check out our other social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can give us a follow there. It really helps us out. We would appreciate it. Or you can check out our WhatsApp group to keep up with photos, videos, or exclusive updates. Join our WhatsApp group. The link will be in the description below. So, what has been happening on the Gaza border? Tensions have been rising. There have been riots happening off and on the Gaza border for a few weeks. Riots from Palestinian Arabs on the Gaza border. They've been happening for a few weeks now. Josiah talked about it last month on his show. If you haven't watched it, go watch that. So, there have been riots happening on and off. Hundreds of Palestinian Arabs showing up, hurling bombs and grenades at the security barrier, the security fence that stands between Israel and Gaza. Lots of craziness happening. Also, the terrorist organization leaders, Hamas leaders, have been calling for an intifada. And we're going to get into why they've been calling for an intifada and why all this craziness is happening, why they're rioting. But the Jerusalem Post, they said this. They said, quote, "These riots feature daily shooting attacks on IDF soldiers on the border. Video published by terrorist organizations and Israeli forces has shown the shooters with pistols taking cover at the barrier cement wall segments. Even more common has been the barrage of improvised grenades, pipe bombs, and fire bombs hurled at soldiers. Improvised explosive devices have been used to damage the security fence and systems. Terrorist groups have also resumed launching incendiary balloons into Israeli territory, sparking fires after years of hiatus." So, last Friday, the article there mentioned incendiary balloons. Last Friday, Gazans started this whole thing. They flew some incendiary balloons across the border into Israel, and the balloons landed near a kibbutz, sparked a huge fire. It was craziness. I think it would have been 2 years since they actually sent balloons into Israel. So this was the first time. Last Friday was the first time they had sent balloons into Israel. But basically, after all these attacks, all these riots, craziness that happened, the IDF finally decided that they had had enough, and they decided to strike Hamas military posts. So on Friday evening, they struck 3 Hamas military posts in Gaza. According to the IDF spokesperson's unit, quote, "A short while ago, an IDF UAV struck 2 military posts belonging to the Hamas terrorist organization adjacent to the areas where a violent riot was taking place and from which incendiary balloons were launched adjacent to the security border in the Gaza Strip. Moreover, an IDF tank struck an additional military post belonging to the Hamas terrorist organization located adjacent to the area from which a short while ago shots were fired at the security forces who were operating against the violent riot. No IDF injuries were reported." So they struck Hamas military posts. And then Saturday and Sunday, balloon attacks were still happening. They were still sending these incendiary balloons into Israel, causing a lot of annoyance to the residents down there in the south around the Gaza Strip. So on Saturday night, an IDF UAV struck another Hamas military post, and then on Sunday night, they struck 2 more military posts. So all this happened, and then yesterday, Tuesday, September 26th, hundreds of Palestinian Arabs once again decided that it was a good idea to riot on the Gaza border, while at the same time, terrorists were launching incendiary balloons towards Israeli communities near the border. Again, a fire was caused in the area of Sha'ar al-Negev Regional Council. Also, several rioters crossed the fence from Gaza into Israeli territory, set fire to a military post, a sniper's position, and then returned to Gaza territory unharmed. I'm going to get into some really interesting stuff now, so stick with me here. This is from Arutz Sheva, an article. Quote, Israel sent a message to the Hamas terrorist organization that rules the Gaza Strip through United Nations envoy Tor Wennesland, who entered Gaza via the Erez crossing to end the recent violence on the border. Wennesland was asked to convey the message that the crossing would be reopened and the movement of Gazan laborers to and from Israel would resume only if the launching of incendiary balloons ends. According to Israeli sources, Hamas raised another demand and called for the quota of workers to be increased by 1,500 so that every day 20,000 workers will enter Israel. At this stage, Israel did not give its consent to this demand, but Israeli officials clarified that if the peace is maintained, the possibility of increasing the worker quotas will be examined. In a world where hunger still touches the lives of many, there's a chance for us to make a difference. Today, we bring you the story of hope and compassion. The story of feeding more than 8,000 hungry Holocaust survivors and Ukrainian refugees. This number grows daily, and the need for food and sustenance becomes more urgent. But United Soup Kitchens has taken action. They have established 22 public restaurants serving free, home-cooked meals with honor and dignity. But they can't do it alone. Nobody should ever go hungry. Today, you have the opportunity to change lives. Your donation today is an act of love and kindness, an opportunity to fulfill God's commandment. Join us today. Donate now below and participate in this incredible mission of compassion and support. Together, let's feed the hungry, nurture the spirit, and create a world where no one goes without a meal. The power to change lives is in your hands. Donate today and let your kindness shine. So, the question is, why are the Gazans rioting? Why is all this craziness happening on the Gaza border? Well, I believe that all of this is part of a grand scheme from the Hamas terrorist organization, part of what maybe you could call a violent negotiation scheme. Yes, they are negotiating. I saw a really good article on JNS that I thought explained it very well. I'll link it in the description below if you want to check out the full article. But he basically talked about, in this article, the Israeli Defense Ministry's coordinator for government activities, Major General Ghassan Alan. He announced last week that the Erez border crossing, through which some 20,000 Gazan Palestinians enter Israel for work every day, would remain closed after being shut down for the Jewish holidays of Rosh Hashanah. Now I'm going to read part of this JNS article. It says, quote, the decision to shut the crossing is more significant than it might seem because it signals to Hamas that violence on the border will achieve the opposite of what it isn't trying to obtain, increased income. So this is one of the things that Hamas is trying to obtain through their through their violent negotiating scheme. They're trying to their increased income, and then he explains it really well. Continue on with the article. Since the end of the IDF's Operation Guardian of the Walls in 2021, Gaza's economy has overall seen improvements with increasing numbers of Gazans working in Israel, rising exports, goods flowing in, and Qatar providing monthly funding to the tune of $30 million. But recently, a number of developments have rained on Hamas's economic parade. Global inflation rose, and Qatar, dissatisfied with Hamas's relations with rival states, particularly Syria, while also assessing that Gaza's economy is on better footing, decreased its funding. Under the Qatari funding mechanism, the Gulf state purchases Egyptian fuel for Gaza's power plant while also funding Hamas's civilian administration in Gaza and providing funds for poor Gazan families. The decrease in Qatari funding has left Hamas's civilian government in financial distress. Inflation, meanwhile, has harmed the purchasing power of Gazan civilians, putting more pressure on Hamas. The result is that Hamas has restarted its border riots in an apparent effort to pressure Qatar via Israel to restore the funding to its previous levels. So that last sentence basically summed up why there's been rioting on the Gaza border, because Hamas is trying to get funding through negotiation tactics, through violent negotiation tactics. They're trying to pressure Qatar via Israel to increase the funding to them once again. Though militants in Gaza have no chance of winning any conflict against a strong and precise IDF, guys, the IDF is very strong. Gaza, the militants, they're never going to succeed. They're never going to win necessarily. They operate in a way that to score as many points as they can in the public relations battle. They're very good at the public image battle, you could call it. With mainstream media already operating with an anti-Israel bias, Hamas only needs to position themselves as the David up against the IDF they paint as a brutal and oppressive Goliath. We've seen the headlines, videos that make Israel out as the bad guy and the villain, unfortunately. Yet the truth is, in all these riots are a piece of the public relations war against Israel, not a credible military threat. Just like the cowardly rocket attacks from Gaza, these riots are meant to cause disproportionate fear and anxiety among Israelis. That's literally what terrorism means. Terrorism, they know that terrorism can't defeat Israel. Terrorists are not going to destroy all the people of Israel. They're not going to be able to kill all the people of Israel, but terrorism is meant to inspire fear in the hearts of the civilians living here in Israel. That is literally the definition of terrorism. So the riots incited and carried out by the terrorist organizations running Gaza, Hamas, and a couple other organizations, they're meant to sway public opinion against Israel. So these riots, they're not trying to defeat Israel in a real war. I think they've sort of given that up a long time ago, but they think they can defeat Israel on the public image, on the social media, on the online battle that happens. And it seems they're doing a very good job of it. They're trying to get funding from Qatar. They're trying to pressure Israel in this public image battle. Guys, I want to end the show on a positive note. So we talk about a lot of bad things. Tensions happening with Gaza. There's a lot of violence going on. Yes, that's true. We do need to talk about it. It's important. But it is also important to remember that Israel still cares about life very much. They will do everything they can to save life. Here is just one example. This is from Stand With Us. I saw this on Twitter. They had this post. It says, for the first time in Israel, a revolutionary pacemaker was successfully implanted in Shahad, an 18-year-old from, guess where? Yes, Gaza. This took place at the Wolfson Medical Center in Holon, Israel. Using innovative methods, the pacemaker with a battery life lasting at least 2 decades was inserted via catheterization through the patient's neck and placed on the heart, eliminating the need for surgical incisions or any resulting scarring. This amazing procedure was done thanks to the efforts of Save a Child's Heart, an Israeli humanitarian organization dedicated to saving children's lives. So they're dedicated to saving children's lives, not just Jewish Israeli children's lives, but also the people of Gaza. They saved this young girl's life who was from Gaza. Really, really heartwarming story there. Guys, In conclusion, remember to pray for Israel more than ever right now. Pray that they will be strong, that they will not give into the temper tantrums, you could call it, that Hamas and the residents of Gaza are throwing right now. Guys, don't forget to subscribe, get the conversation going down below. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every Monday through Friday with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.